Good morning, Sean. Just in a string of uplifting, developments, how can you share what the emotional joy you must have experienced in hearing from Damar, for the first time, over Zoom, and how truly remarkable his recovery's been?
Yeah, probably won't be able to do it justice, honestly, with the words. Amazing, touching to see Damar, number one, through my own eyes. I know it's something I've been looking forward to, kind of needing to see, I guess. Hate to say it that way. It sounds bad, but and to watch the reaction in the room with the players and the staff and the team. They didn't know that we were going to do that, and wanted to make sure that was actually going to be able to happen with Damar's medical schedule there, and to be able to. When I said that we had a treat in store, it was just you could see the look on their eye in anticipation of what was probably coming, and then to get the Zoom, and when he came on the screen, and Tabani, our assistant trainer, has done a phenomenal job out there, helping facilitate that this morning as well. And to see the players' reaction, they stood up right away and clapped for him, and yelled some things to him, and it was a pretty cool exchange for a few seconds there.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, sure.
Hey, Sean, good morning again. Just to follow up on that, I'm reading the tweet, the announcement that you guys sent out, that he had said, "Love you, boys." Did he say anything else? Can you paint the picture of what was said and what else may have been exchanged there between your team and him?
Yeah, Adam. So, and I can't remember the order of things, and it was not a long interaction, as you'd imagine, with his situation. But he made hand signals, hand gestures, right? The thing that makes me laugh is he did this to the guys, right away. And he flexed on them, I guess. And he's just got some staple things that they know him for and that he does. I mean, he made the heart symbol probably more than anything. And then he gave him a thumbs up. So, and then somewhere in the midst of that, and it was a little bit hard to hear, but he, as you'd imagine, he said, "I love you, boys." And of course, I think I got the guys. So,
thank you, Sean.
Sure.
Hey, Sean, we heard you speak about Denny last night. We've heard you speak about Tabani this morning. How important has the training staff, the medical staff as a whole been throughout this process? I mean, they're the unsung heroes usually of the year, making sure the entire team is ready to go. There's been a lot of injuries this year. So this season and really just over the last 3 days, how important have they been to the entire team and to Damar as well?
Oh, they've been incredible. Maddie, I appreciate you, following up on that point. I mean, they've just been incredible, and there's such a big, a wide net for all that have been kind of that fall under that medical team term, I guess, right? With the normal day-to-day training staff that is here, which Denny and Tabani are a part of, led by Nate Bresky. And as I mentioned, Nate earlier, along with Brandon, just got back yesterday from Cincinnati, as they had been out there the entire time, and Tabani remains out there. And then our local team doctors based out of Buffalo and their assistants in this, and obviously the doctors that I mentioned yesterday out there, the staff. It's just so many people involved, even just from a medical standpoint. So we're just. And it was funny, I was driving to work this morning. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this or not, but I'll say it anyway. I'm listening to XM radio, and I've got a country station on highway. I think it's called Highway Country or something like that. And who are they talking about but Denny Kellington, the assistant trainer from the Buffalo Bills. And I got to imagine that's a national station. So I shared that with Denny this morning, and he got a good kick out of that.
Thanks, Sean.
Sure.
Hey, Sean, I know you were in there when we were talking to Dane yesterday and wanted to ask you something similar of Damar for so long has seemed so good at expressing that, he loves guys, his care for people. And so I wanted to get your perspective on that of when did you kind of notice that about him of he's always been good at kind of telling guys he cares for them and then having it in such a meaningful moment today?
Yeah, I mean, just getting to know, it's funny, before we came on here, I was texting Pat Narduzzi, who is Damar's college coach at University of Pittsburgh. And really, I'll give him a ton of credit. And for me, at least, obviously our scouts do a great job introducing us to players and their backgrounds and personalities and everything. Having said that, Pat Narduzzi and I have a relationship. And when he says certain things about a player, I have a great amount of trust and respect for Pat. So I know that they're true. And the person that, certainly the player that Pat was describing to me, and also then the player, but the person he was describing was very accurate in terms of who Damar is as a person. And I just can't thank him enough for him really beginning this relationship for me personally with Damar, I don't know, a year and a half ago at this point, roughly. So, but the relationship that he has with Dane is, as you saw, runs deep, and he has a similar relationship, obviously for not as long of a time with many in our building here. He's just an infectious young man with an infectious personality.
Thanks. And then just to better understand the FaceTime, were you holding the phone the whole time? I know you said it was short. Did it get passed around, or like, what was that when there's so many people so excited to talk to him? Just what was that like?
Yeah, no. So we, Matt Werzik, who's one of my assistants, he's been doing a great job all year. This year, he's carried the torch in a lot of ways for me, in particular this week. He set Zoom up with Tabani, our assistant trainer, where we actually put Damar, like we did Damar's dad and then the docs yesterday, on the big screen in there. So he was larger than life in there for us. So, yeah.
Thanks, Sean.
Sure.
Hi, Sean. I know this is, like an unprecedented situation. You guys have faced adversity all year. I mean, I think back to, what happened with Dawson earlier in the season.
Yeah.
And you were talking about all the conversations that you had, even just this week, with other coaches and probably a bunch of other people. What have you learned about it, and what kind of, what do you feel about how, what does resiliency mean now after going through this?
Oh man. I think I grew up a pretty resilient person. It's kind of my mindset. I know my parents would tell you that. I think growing up, I was more of the one that kept things, in, and, I know mental health was talked about yesterday, and that's the reason why I mentioned that. I would say that, I was reminded this year, as you mentioned, like, what have I learned? I think more reminded how real, and this is probably a message for fans out there, how real these guys are. They're not robots. They're real people with real families, real issues in their personal lives. Obviously acknowledging the money that comes with jobs like this, and, grateful for that. Having said that, though, these guys are real people and dealing with real life issues and challenges. And, when you get a chance, unfortunately, have a chance to go to the hospital with a player and you see his family there, another great reminder of these young men, in this case, football players, come from a mom and a dad that care for them very much.
And if I could, I know you guys are probably, I don't know if you've gotten this far down the line yet, but is there any plans? A lot of fans have been asking about if there's any plans to maybe honor the first responders on Sunday at the game.
Yeah, we've had conversations in our offices here, led by Ron Rakoya, mainly Derek, Brandon, myself, and Terry, primarily of making sure that things are done to honor all those involved in a tasteful and respectful manner, for sure.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure.
Hi, Sean. As you've continued day by day to get better news, how has that allowed you to kind of shift back to the football side of things, knowing that there's a game coming up Sunday?
Yeah, that has certainly been a kind of a release on the pressure valve a little bit. That's allowed more football to get into the channel. So the pipeline, and that's been good for us. The coaches, they had to start, Tuesday was a quote unquote day off for the players. So, but the coaches, and I'm not talking me, I'm talking the position and coordinators, really had to start Tuesday, and how difficult that was. I was not around them very much on Tuesday for the obvious reasons, but just so appreciate those guys and how hard that was to be able to start at least on Tuesday with what energy and focus they had to do that. And now that has, to your point, has grown each day as we've gotten A, better news, and B, a little bit of rest. And so I'm hoping to get a little bit involved in that today, honestly. And so we'll see where that goes. But yeah, they've done a phenomenal job.
And does facing New England, a team you're familiar with, does that also kind of take a little pressure off of, I know how regimented you are, but taking a little pressure off, maybe feeling okay with such a unique week of preparation from a football side of things to be prepared to face your opponent on Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, that definitely, there's some familiarity there. I was thinking about it, John, and I'll just say this, that, there's never a good time, right? Never a good time. You face short weeks, and on top of it being the event that it was on a short week also. So it kind of makes you, I guess, respectfully chuckle a little bit about, what we've dealt with, and hey, why not make it a short week also on top of that? So, but yeah, there is familiarity there. And I should mention that Coach Belichick was one of the many that reached out, and certainly appreciate his thoughts and prayers as well.
Thanks, Sean.
Sure.
Coach, good morning. Wookie Hawkins, 104 Sports 1080, man. God bless you, Coach. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing better. Hope you are too. God bless you as well.
Yes, sir. And we understand, man, leaders lead by example. And yesterday I asked Mitch, more about your message, and he said just your vulnerability at this moment in time. Just care to talk about that, Coach, if you could.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate what he shared. Mitch was outstanding yesterday. It was the first time I got a chance to be in person and watch him articulate what he did, and what a tremendous, you talk about leadership, what a tremendous leader. Mitch was one of the main ones after the game that spoke up. And as you saw yesterday, he has a great ability to verbalize and articulate what's going on in his mind, and such a veteran presence for us. So I so appreciate him and his family. And yeah, I would just say, like, I think just more than anything, just being real with the guys, right? Being real with the team and everybody around the team. I think that's just the probably the simplest way to put it. Okay, it's not anything fancy. It's just being real.
Right, just being human, right, Coach?
Yeah.
As you said, it's just being human, and that we appreciate that. But it is a game to play on Sunday, and New England has a lot to play for as well. How do you get your team locked in at the task at hand?
Yeah, so we've been working on that. There's different kind of waves or hurdles that we need to continue to cross as we inch toward the game here, and it is coming fast. And so my number one thing for the players, as it always is, honestly, is their health and well-being. So getting them to a point mentally where they are yes, prepared for the game, but also prepared to protect themselves. That's number one, and then also do the job that they're going to be called upon to do come game time. So we are working on that. We have a staff that helps us with that. Dr. Dez, who I didn't mention by name yesterday, has done a phenomenal job working with some of the players to help in that regard with the psychology of the game, if you will. And we have Len Vandenbos, Mark Carrier, Kelsey Harkins, our player development staff, who all have different roles here that have helped, as well as the other people who we've brought in. So we'll continue in that effort all the way up until and including game time and beyond, probably. So we'll see how that goes.
Appreciate you, Coach. Good luck this week.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Coach, on that topic of focusing and concentrating and preparing for the game on Sunday, knowing that there's been that much significant improvement in Damar's health, how much easier is it for you, the coaching staff, and the players to concentrate on the task at hand, the New England Patriots, and having Damar Hamlin in the back of their minds?
Yeah, I mean, that's, I think a great example of that is Brandon, who's sitting a couple rows away from me here. Just having Brandon back in the building. I mean, Brandon stayed behind, as I've mentioned, along with Nate Bresky, our head trainer, and having Brandon be able to fly home yesterday along with Nate just makes our ability to interact that much easier. I'm not jumping on a phone with Brandon and getting updates and yet still trying to coach the team. So all of that makes all the improvements of Damar make life so much easier to focus on, as you mentioned, the task at hand, and that being the New England Patriots.
Hey, Sean, this is kind of a two-part question. I was curious, why did you decide to stay and listen to what Dane and Mitch had to say? And then we asked the players yesterday what they've seen from you as a leader, but what have you seen from the captains and the leaders on this team in terms of being there for their teammates?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't normally stand and watch over somebody's shoulder while they're doing their press, in particular the players. So I just wanted to be there, not knowing how those guys were going to react emotionally. So I just wanted to be there for them. And really that was it. I probably should have, there was a seat on the stairs I was going to go sit on, but I just figured I'd stand right there. So as far as the leaders, the captains in particular, and it was interesting, Elena, there was a few others that spoke up in the locker room in the minutes after we walked into the locker room that evening, and they weren't all captains. And so I'm extremely impressed by those, even though they don't have the C on their chest, in the way that they led as well and spoke up. Overall, the captains led by Josh, Tremaine, Mitch, Micah, and you guys know the captain, Stefan. You saw what Stefan did after the game. He wouldn't be denied in terms of getting to that hospital. They've been phenomenal, and they're all in their own ways, whether by example, whether by voice, by support of their teammates, by listening. Like me, this is unprecedented, and there's no script for experience as much life as I have. So for them to be able to not only lead themselves first and foremost, but lead others has been a huge help to me and to us. And then it's been admirable to watch.
Thanks, Sean.
Sure.
That's all the questions for today. Thanks, Coach.
Great. Thanks, guys.